Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys and a Ride, and welcome to a car tech how-to video on the 2024 Buick Envista, and this is the Sport Touring trim level. Today, I'll be covering the driver's information and infotainment screens. I'll do a general overview, show you how to access information, and do a deep dive. Let's get started.
Today, we're working with our friends at Snell Motors in beautiful Mankato, Minnesota.
So the driver's screen is an 8-inch screen measured diagonally. It is all digital, and there isn't a whole lot you can configure from the steering wheel. So what you can do is on the right side of the steering wheel, you have a music button, you have a phone button, you've got a rotary knob that goes up and down, and you've got a phone hang up and then a voice command. So if I press the music button, you're going to notice that media appears. So when that appears, you can use the rotary knob here to scroll up and down and select different sources. All right. You can, to change the volume, there are two buttons behind the right side of the steering wheel that will raise and lower. And if you want to change channels, there's two buttons behind the left side of the steering wheel where you can change channels. Okay, if I had a phone connected, that would show up there and I could see recent calls and initiate a call. Basically, that's what you can do from the steering wheel to change the screen. What you can do, though, is you can go over to the infotainment screen, and about the fourth icon down looks like a car on a page with some writing. If I hit that, you've got maintenance, gauges, and trip. So if I click, I can reset trip 1, reset trip 2, or show and cluster. And there you see a change. Okay, then I can hit remove from cluster also. All right, now the next one is fuel economy. So I click the arrow there and say show and cluster. All right, so now I've got that. All right, I'm going to remove that. Okay, if I go over to gauges, then I have battery voltage and coolant, and I can click on that arrow and I can say show and cluster, and that's what you're going to see. All right, I'm going to hit remove from cluster there. I'm going to go over to coolant temperature and say show and cluster, and then you can see that. Okay, and then finally I can also do tire pressure, and I can do oil life. All right, so those are the things that you can put into the driver's screen. Now, you always have a fuel gauge, and that's right now that's on the left, and then you have got an engine temperature gauge on the far right, your gear selector in the middle, odometer on the right, you've got miles till empty on the left, and then of course the middle is the information that we're changing, and then on top you have got your digital speedometer. On the far right you've got on the far left you have a compass. Okay, so that's it for the driver's screen. Next we're going to move over to the infotainment screen. All right, so moving on over to the infotainment screen. Now this is an 11-inch screen as measured diagonally, so it's a nice large screen. You do have one physical button, and that is volume and power. So the way it works is that you've got your main icons right on the left, and then this is for notifications if the vehicle needs to send you any messages. You've got connectivity, Wi-Fi right there. You've got outdoor ambient temperature, and then of course you've got the clock. So I'm going to actually start by going to the home right here. All right, and right now Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are grayed out, but we will connect to them in just a little bit. This does have 6 speakers. It has AM and FM radio and Sirius XM. It does not have navigation. The expectation is that you'll use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto for that. So from the home screen here, we've got climate. So here you've got, of course, power on or off. You can set your temperature. It's a single zone climate control. Your circulatory button, AC and auto. But really down here below the air vents, below the infotainment screen, you have all physical controls. So it's just easier for you to do it through that. Everything you need is right in this button area down here for the climate control, in addition to your 3-stage heated seats on either side. All right, we'll go back to the home button. And then you do have a 4G LTE Wi-Fi hotspot that you can set up here. Okay, so we'll get back to these two in a little bit. I want to go up here to media first. So this is Sirius XM, and I'll show you real quickly how to change channels and how to adjust the sound and how to set a favorite. So setting a favorite's easy. You can pick any of these, even the ones that are already set or one that's blank. Click, and in a second, there we go. I just set that. Now, if you want to see more, you can click the arrow and it will take you to the next set. Okay. You can tune just by clicking here. You can, of course, use the two buttons on the left side of the steering wheel on the back side of it to tune as well. You can go here, punch in a number, or just go by channel like this. Right here, you get categories. So you can look for a certain category or search within a category. And then you have this gear wheel, which is where you're going to get your sound. So I can go here. And of course, I can adjust the fade and balance just by clicking and dragging. If I want to recenter it, I can just hit that button and it will recenter everything. I also have an equalizer. So I've got bass, mid-range, and treble. And you can just click and slide, or you can use the arrows. And again, if you want to recenter everything, you can use that button. All right, so you also have manage favorites here. So I like this because here you can reorder them right there, and I can change it and put it in a different order, right? I can even skip empty ones. All right, you can also hit the trash can and delete a favorite. Go back here. Of course, if you want radio text on, you can click that on or off here. And then if you want radio text categories as well, you can click that on. All right, so that's the basics on SiriusXM. So if I go here, this is where you can get your sources. If I go to AM, it's going to look almost identical. This is where your sound is. That's where you manage your favorites. This is, again, one of the spots that you can tune. And then, of course, you can use the buttons here. And then you have your presets. Now, the cool thing about modern cars is that your presets include any presets you set for AM, FM, and SiriusXM. They're all in the same line. So that's really nice. If I go to FM, you're going to see that that is also the same setup. Okay, so that's media for now. We'll get to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in a little bit. This button here takes us straight to a traction control. So I can have traction control off. I can have traction control and ESC off, or I can have traction control and ESC on. Okay, so ESC is electronic stability control. So that's where you're going to manage that. They give you a separate button to do that. And then this is where I went to throw all that stuff in the driver's screen. So I went to maintenance and I had tire pressure. What you do is you click on the arrow and then you can say show and cluster. Okay. You can also relearn tire pressure and you can say remove from cluster if you want. And when you do that, you get a little bigger speedometer. You also get an RPM gauge. All right. I'm hit the X. Oil life was the same thing. Okay, so you can say show and cluster or remove from cluster. All right, now you can also just click on this and it'll take you to the same place. I'm clicking on the arrow, but really you can click almost anywhere. All right, here are the two gauges that you can put into the infotainment or the driver screen: battery voltage and coolant temperature. Again, just click on them, say show and cluster. If you want it out, say remove. Okay. Now, if you don't hit remove, let's say you select battery voltage and later you decide you want coolant. Do you need to go and remove battery voltage first? No. You would just go straight to coolant temperature and say show and cluster, and it would replace it. They give you that option to take it off because when you take it off, you get a bigger digital speedometer and an RPM gauge as well. All right. Then you had trip. Okay, so then we had trip information and fuel economy, and again, you just click on them. Here you can reset the best score. You can change the distance. Let's see, on trip information, you'll have a reset trip 1 and reset trip 2. Okay, so that was right in there. So that leads us back to doing a phone hookup. So I am going to hook up my Android phone. All right, so I'm just going to turn on my Android phone. I'm going to swipe up to open. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to connections where I can find Bluetooth. I'm going to click on Bluetooth, and then I'm going to go here, click on phone, and say manage phones. All right, I am going to go to plus, and right down here on my phone, it says my Buick under my Bluetooth devices. So I'm going to click that. It says it's pairing. 956327 is the same number on the screen and my phone. And you may ask, well, why do they do that? Well, because if you have another Bluetooth device close by and it's open to finding a signal, it could be trying to hook to that one. So it just wants to verify it's hooking to the right thing. So I hit pair on both screens. Okay, and now I'm connected. Now this is an important screen here because if you hit disable, you're going to connect just via Bluetooth. Okay, so you want to click enable, and then on your phone it says, I want to allow access to my contacts. I don't, because it's not my car, so I'm gonna hit deny. But if this were your car, you would definitely want to click that. Okay, so this means I can now shut my phone off, and I have Android Auto. In fact, I just slipped it into the handy dandy wireless charger. Okay, so in Android Auto, you have a split screen, just like you do in Apple CarPlay. This is your most current navigation, YouTube music, and then a home button for navigation. Okay, and you notice it's filling up the whole screen, which is really nice. And then if you click here on the dice, this is where you get the apps. Now, for Android Auto, you scroll up and down to see all the apps, whereas Apple CarPlay, you go left to right. So here we go. So if I want to navigate by Waze, I just click on there, and it's going to show up. Okay, I'm going to click out of that because I actually don't want to drive anywhere right now. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. Okay, if I want to look at phone, whoops, I do like the background picture. Okay, and then here you can see your phone stuff. Okay, let's go. There isn't any back button here, so I'm going to click on this again. Click on the dice. Okay, but you can see, basically it's going to take any app that will work with the car and throw it up on your screen. It basically enables you to not touch your phone while you're driving. Okay, and there are a lot more apps that'll work with this than I have on this particular Android phone. But you can see how easy it was and how quick it was. And despite the fact the car doesn't have built-in navigation, well, you have your choice. Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, whatever is your choice. Pretty much, I think any navigation system will show up there. Now, the one thing I should show you is how do you get out of this? You hit the Buick emblem that says exit, and that brings you back to this screen where then you can just go to home, or if you want, you can just click home directly. Apple CarPlay would be exactly the same. I happen to be filming with my iPhone, and I didn't think about that, but the setup, folks, is exactly the same as Android Auto. It's the same steps. It's the same thing. You go to your Bluetooth settings on your iPhone, you look for My Buick, you click on it, and everything else is the same. And when it comes to that little message, make sure you click Enable for Apple CarPlay. All right, so the last thing I want to show you here is the backup camera. So I just got to put it in reverse, and you've got a nice screen. You've got dynamic swivel guidelines, and then this button actually shuts the guidelines off in case you don't want them. But a very nice camera, very nice size for the screen. Doesn't take up the whole screen, but it's a very, very nice size. Okay, and then I'm just going to put in park again. All right, now that we've done that, let's take a look at settings. So if I go to settings here, I can set date and time right here, or alternatively, let's just go home for a minute. Just click on the clock and it'll take you to the same page. All right, I can also change the language. Just click on the one that you want. I can go over here and I can look at phones. Okay, now under phones, I've got some options. So if I click options here, I can disconnect or forget phone. If you ever sell your car, you're going to want to make sure you hit this one to forget your phone, because then it erases all the data from your phone that's stored in the car. So it's a good thing to do. All right. You can look at Wi-Fi networks, a Wi-Fi hotspot, manage it and use it. You can look at privacy and the location services for OnStar. You can turn that off if you want, but then you're going to have some issues with your OnStar. Vehicle to phone sharing. So what that's going to do is allow Android and Apple CarPlay apps to use vehicle data. All right, under display here, you just have the option to turn display off. If you want to turn it back on again, tap the screen and it comes on. Okay, I'm going to go down here. Sounds. You have a lot of sounds in the car, and sometimes when you get in, the radio just starts up automatically. And maybe you like starting up a quiet car and then you turn the volume up. Well, just take this and drag it down there. And that next time you start it up, the radio will not be on. So that's a choice you can make, or you can set it at a lower or higher level. You keep hearing that little bloop, bloop. Okay, well, that's what this audible touch feedback is. If I click that off, now it's gone. Okay, I'm just going to click it back on again. All right. Units. You got a choice between US and metric here. Just click the one that you want. And then if I go down, you can see updates. This does have over-the-air updates. And as with most modern cars, it's going to download the update for you, but it's not going to install the update until you're parked and have a connection to the Wi-Fi, whether it's a service that you pay for through the vehicle and it has a connection there, or you hook to your home Wi-Fi. But the updates download, but actually don't take place until you are in park. Okay, so but you can check for updates right there. All right, you have some reset options. So you can erase infotainment data. What would be a good thing when you're selling the car. And you can reset vehicle settings. I'm not going to click on those, but if you do, that's for vehicle settings. This one is specifically for infotainment. Okay, and that's the bottom of the list. Now, if I go up here, I told you this was notifications. It is, if you needed gas or you needed oil change or your tire pressure is low, that kind of stuff is going to show up in there. Okay, so, a really, really nice setup here for a vehicle in this price range. To have, an 8-inch digital screen, an 11-inch infotainment screen, and then it's a beautiful display. It's all covered under one piece of glass. So it's just over, I believe, 32 inches total, but 8 inches for the display on the driver and 11 for the passenger. But are really nice. I like the way they've laid it out. It's simplified. It gives you all the basic stuff you need. It looks really good, and the sound system sounds really good. And this again is a sport touring trim level, but it sounded really good. I love the fact that they've added the wireless charger. You do have double USB ports in the front and the back. Now the two front will connect to the infotainment system in case you don't want to connect wirelessly, and you have a USB-C and a USB-A in both locations. Okay, well, that is it on the brand new 2024 Buick Envista. We hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.